Good evening everyone and welcome to Gundam News. And let's start with the thing that I was expecting the least. After the non-scale high-grade Torahachi, Bandai has decided to release yet another Gundam-based limited non-scale high-grade model kit. And this time, it's the Draken E. And thanks to not being limited to mobile suit scales, this thing comes packing with some really cool details and also accessories. The cockpit opens up, the sub-arms open up, and it comes with parts that either have it as the Federation version or the Zeon version, which has power loader arms and different lights that are also in different positions. The only unfortunate thing is that, just as with the Torahachi, they don't specify which scale it is, meaning that we also don't know if it's going to be in scale with the Torahachi. Like, I would assume that it is, and I would hope that it is, but we won't know for sure until it releases on August the 24th for 2,420 yen, which is 17 US. And our second newly announced Gunpla is the Cluster Gundam for 6,600 yen, 45 US. And while it's not a Gundam-based limited kit, it is of course a premium Bandai kit, which will be releasing in October. And while it is expensive for such a relatively small kit, it is cool to see it finally getting a modern version with like modern molding and whatnot. Like, I haven't gotten any of the other F90 kits so far, but I think I might have to track this one down. It comes with a like relatively bulky twin segmented beam shield, a beam rifle, 2 beam bazookas, 2 beam sabers with beam saber blade effect parts, ejectable core fighter, and of course, the ability to dock with the mission packs. Although they do include an asterisk that it won't work with every mission pack. But unfortunately, they aren't any more specific than that. So you'll kind of have to find out for yourself which packs are and aren't compatible. And related to the Gunpla news then, from August the 12th, for people buying over 8,000 yen worth of stuff over at the Gundam base Fukuoka or Gundam Side F, that is 55 US, they will get one of 2 free acrylic stands. Then a pop-up Gundam base has appeared in Kanazawa on the 9th and will stay there until the 27th. And we got some more Gunpla related Metaverse news. Bandai is pushing ahead with their Metaverse plans and are now offering Western Gunpla fans the chance to have their Gunpla featured in the Metaverse, along with their name. You simply have to go to the Facebook post, which I will have linked down below, and then post your picture there as a reply, along with your name or nickname and the name of the picture. Meanwhile, on the figure front, we got a lot. Most impressively, we got all of the details for the previously teased machine-built Alpha Azieru. It is in fact 1/144 scale, and this is of course reflected both by its size and its price. 44,000 yen or 300 US. So it is a hefty thing in every sense of the word. And it of course also has some really cool gimmicks going on. The mega particle cannons come with a wire, the head has some moving panels, the chest has some moving panels, and it can also transform into cruising mode. Pre-orders have gone live at regular retailers, so I will have it linked down below, and it is slated for a late December release. So, Merry Christmas. But this figure also leaves me to wonder. It seems to be conveniently cut at like a place where it would be very easy for Mega House to release the bottom part as a separate set, which could then potentially be a premium Bandai exclusive thing, so who knows? What is definitely premium Bandai limited though is the Charamobi Mechagurumi Guel Jeturk. It is slated for a January release and goes for 6,600 yen, 45 US. A price that might not sound like that much when you compare it to the Alpha that we just talked about, but this is a much smaller figure, like under 10 centimeters, which is less than 4 inches. but it does come with the Daryl Balde signature weapon, a simple stand, 4 facial expressions, 2 hair options, and a soda-flavored piece of chewing gum, which of course makes the whole thing totally worth it. Back to the regular releases then, which again will be linked down below. Like the Cosmo Fleet Special Megafauna RE. And by now, I'm sure that you all know the drill when it comes to these Cosmo Fleet re-releases. The price has gone up significantly, 9,900 yen, 68 US, but this does actually still give you a deal compared to trying to hunt down the original version. And it does now also come with extra weathering and some water slide decals. And of course, it also still comes with all the accessories of the original, like a base to put it on and 6 in-scale mobile suits. And this thing will be sailing your way in January, just like the Lookup figure Acguy. It goes for 4,180 yen, 29 US, and it's one of those things that I wasn't expecting, but in hindsight, I probably should have expected to happen at some point. Like, with the cutesy reputation that the Acguy has garnered over the years, it is just such a perfect fit for this line. And if you get it from Premium Bandai, you will also get a small Lookup figure of Akahana as well. Next up, for 5,280 yen then, 36 US, we have the Material Structure New York Ruins Material Color version. And that means that this is the unpainted, cheaper version, even though in some of the pictures they are showing you the painted version. But you will of course get those waterslide decals, so you can make it like the painted version. But even without paint, I think it still looks quite impressive. What I find weird though is that they chose to show off this diorama with the 2 old high-grade Zakus, which are infinitely inferior in every regard to the newer Revive high grades. But anyways, the base also comes with an action base arm and is slated for a December release. And then the final announcement of that day was that the excellent model series Sayla Mass will be re-released in late January for 17,600 yen, 120 US. And she can be displayed either with her gun or saluting. One day later then, the real bombshell dropped, or perhaps I should say, the real fake bombshell dropped, because we got all of the details for the Gem Series Meer Campbell Negligee version. Scheduled for January, she goes for 22,000 yen, 150 US, and comes with a floofy base to put her on. The sad thing is that this is going to be a rather limited figure, and you can only get her through like a few select stores like Amiami, Animate, Volks, and Yellow Submarine, and then of course through Premium Bandai. Another day later then, we got yet another cool figure, but this one is completely limited to Premium Bandai. The Robot Spirits Gym Sniper Custom Jaburo Defense Force Specifications version anime. It now goes for 8,800 yen, 60 US, instead of 6,050 yen, and after careful examination, I have concluded that the only differences are the color scheme and that its beam sniper rifle has now been replaced by the one that was used in Zeta Gundam, which can now also be parts formed into the standard beam rifle, you know, like the one that is famously used by the Gym 2 and the Nemo. Although, considering the price hike, I think it would have been nicer to just have, like, both the beam sniper rifle and the standard beam rifle, rather than having to switch between the two. But anyways, on the gaming front, it was of course again Gundam Breaker 4 that gave us the biggest news. They released a new trailer, which I will have linked down below. They confirmed that the Mighty Strike Freedom will be added post-launch through a free update, and they gave us the times for the second open network test. And do keep in mind that the following times are in Japan time. On the 10th from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., which is right now at the moment of recording, and then on the 11th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then again from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And in addition to being able to fight with your Gunpla, like you were able to do in the first test, you will now also be able to pose them in the diorama mode, although this will also have some limitations compared to the final release. What got a full release this week then was the newest Gundam Unicorn Pachinko game, Gundam Unicorn Return, the White Unicorn and the Black Lion. And in other news then, Gundam World Contrast in Fukuyama will be held from September the 26th to October the 27th, with more details coming soon. We got the art that will be on Freedom's limited Blu-ray editions, being the Mighty Edition and the Special Limited Edition, and they announced that they will be selling Gundam Seed Freedom merchandise at Comiket, which will feature the illustrations from the special Gundam Seed Freedom newspaper. As for the things you could get this week then, from the beginning of the week, the 8th lineup of Mobile Suit Ensemble got restocked in gachapon machines across Japan. Meaning that for 500 yen a spin, a little over $3 US, you could once again get the F91 Heavy Gun Hazensley 2, Fruited 2, or an option set with weapons for the F91 and the Heavy Gun. And a few days later then, you could spin for some premium gachapons. Going for 1,500 yen a spin, 10 US, you can get 4 different RX-78-2s at gachapon machines in the Gundam Base Tokyo and Gundam Side F in Fukuoka. The available designs are Gundam Base version with beam rifle, clear Gundam Base version with beam javelin, anime colors with hyper bazooka, or standard clear version with beam saber. And then today, the real great RX-78-2 Gundam version 2.0 was released, featuring an inner frame that is completely different from the 1.0. And according to Bandai themselves, it is inspired by the semi-monocoque structure that the Federation used for their mobile suits. And of course, with that new inner frame, the RX-78-2 now also has a very different look and feel to it. It is much chunkier and has a heavier feel that still maintains the sleekness of the original. In fact, the only things that kind of remain the same were its accessories, although they of course also have been significantly upgraded. We get 2 beam sabers with beam saber blade effect parts, a beam rifle, and a hyper bazooka. And the beam sabers also come with a really neat model kit exclusive feature. I'm sure we've all tried to pose a RX-78-2 with the bazooka and discovered that the beam sabers do tend to ever so slightly get in the way. Well, you can now simply fold down those beam sabers to make holding the bazooka much more natural. And that is of course just one of many gimmicks that this thing comes with. For this week's reading material then, there was the big comic superior in which Gundam Thunderbolt is being serialized, and some cool G Gundam things. Because not only did we get the 6th chapter of the web novel, but pre-orders also began for the Mobile Fighter G Gundam Complete Official Archive. It'll go for a whopping 13,200 yen, 90 US, but it includes 3 books with things like all of the setting materials, the G Gundam official 30th anniversary book, and even a reprint of the B Club magazine featuring G Gundam. It can be bought through Aeon, which is linked down below, and is currently slated for a February 21st release. And now, instead of going to the apparel news, I can once again give you some Gundam Café news, because starting today, a Gundam Café food truck will be setting up shop behind the life-size unicorn statue in Odaiba. It'll stay there until the end of September, with the dates that it'll be there on screen right now, and they'll be selling some summer-themed foods and drinks, which will also give you a limited edition Unicorn Gundam coaster. On to that apparel news then, where both Strigji and Bankore had quite the busy week. On the 3rd, the MA1 Natives jacket in Kira colors got a restock in physical Strigji stores, and it still comes with that acrylic stand of Kira wearing the same jacket. And then on the 10th, they got a bunch of things in stock, like this triple pack of socks. There's a Mobile Suit Gundam set featuring Zeon, the Federation, and Char, a Char's counterattack version featuring Neo Zeon and Amuro twice, and then a Hathaway's Flash set featuring Mafty twice and the Federation. Next up are these really cool Gundam Seed Freedom t-shirts featuring the Mighty Strike Freedom, Destiny Gundam Spec 2, and Zagok, all done in that really nice looking traditional Japanese brush painting style. They had the dry setup Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam set, and I think they forgot to put a space in between Suit and Z, so I first read it as Mobile Suits Gundam. But the collection features dry t-shirts and dry shorts featuring the Zeta Gundam, Hyakushiki, the O, and the Qbelay. And then finally, they also got the New Era collection in stock to of course celebrate the 45th anniversary of Gundam. The 4 featured eras in this collection are the original Gundam and Char's counterattack, kind of being the beginning and the end of the original era, G Gundam, which was of course the first alternate universe, and Unicorn Gundam, the big return to the Universal Century. And you can get these on a cap, a t-shirt, or a keychain. And then from Bankore, a bunch of pre-orders went live on Thursday. Slated for a September release are these glow-up-in-the-dark things. We've got a keychain featuring either the Hyakushiki, Ayuk, Titans, Unicorn, or the 00 logo, and then we've also got a Hyakushiki and Titans logo as either an acrylic stand or as an acrylic plate. And then slated for a November release, we've got a bunch of Gundam Seed things. For those of you who want to get fancy Zaft Ace Pilot style, there's the Fate symbol as a brooch, a pendant, or an ear clip, and since August the 8th was Isaac's birthday, they of course celebrated it with a bunch of things for you to buy. You could pre-order an Isaac-inspired bracelet, which has a zirconia gem in his colors, as well as his initials, or you could get his face on a sparkly acrylic stand, a clear pouch, an acrylic keychain, or a sparkly acrylic clip. And as always, let's quickly wrap things up with the polls. With the release of the Real Great RX-78-2 version 2.0, Gundam.info wants to know which RX-78-2 kit we thought was the most shocking when it was released. The Master Grade RX-78-2 version 1.0, the Real Great RX-78-2, also version 1.0, the Perfect Grade Unleashed RX-78-2, or the Entry Grade RX-78-2. And in my opinion, it really comes down to 2 kits here. Because for the Entry Grade, like, yes, it is a really good kit for the price, and it is definitely shocking in that sense. Also with like how many color correct features they managed to ram into that thing. But in the grand scheme of things, I didn't feel like it was that shocking. Which the Real Grade did manage to achieve to some degree. Cramming Master Grade technology into a high grade sized kit was definitely quite a thing to behold at the time, and I think it's fair to say that most people were initially very impressed with it. But I do also think that the issues that the line suffered from, plus the fact that there were already some really good RX-78-2 kits out at the time, did kind of soften the overall impact that this thing had. Which wasn't the case at all when the original Master Grade came bursting onto the scene in 1995. Like, sure, anyone looking at this kit right now, or even 10 years ago, will be very quick to dismiss it as a relic of the past. Because, yes, despite being a Master Grade, it doesn't come with a lot of the features that we would expect from a Master Grade nowadays, and even for an older Master Grade. Like, it requires painting in some pretty basic areas, there's seam lines all over the place, there's only a very limited inner frame, it just feels very flimsy, and the articulation is abysmal. But still, at the time, I would argue that this wasn't just the most impressive RX-78-2 kit out there, but the most impressive Gunpla kit, period. So if I was in Japan in 1995 and I was a fan of the original Gundam, I'm pretty sure this would have blown my mind. Because despite all of the bad things I just said, again, in 95, these were either things that were to be expected, or despite being limited from a modern point of view, they were still revolutionary back in the day. So again, you really got to look at the other kits that were also being released at the time that this Master Grade was released. For example, this kit was released only 4 years after the 1/144th scale GPO2 was released. And if you don't know how horrendous that thing was, you can check out my Gunpla development history on the GPO2. Like, no kidding, calling that thing bad would be a compliment. But now on to our final candidate for the most shocking Gunpla, the Perfect Grade Unleashed RX-78-2. And from a modern point of view, this thing is obviously like the most shocking RX-78-2 we have up to date. If you want to go balls to the walls with the RX-78-2, this is a no-brainer. That's the kit you're gonna get. It is the most impressive thing you can possibly get. Like, again, debatably, maybe not even just of the RX-78-2, but of all Gunpla out there. The amount of opening panels, the amount of like special details it's got, it's just stunning. Combine that with, of course, the like imposing 1/60th scale that it's in, and yeah. The only thing that like prevented me from immediately voting for it though is that modern Gunpla has simply gotten so good that I'm not sure if the jump to the Perfect Grade Unleashed was as big as the jump to the very first Master Grade that was ever made, which is the RX-78-2. And you can kind of see this same conflict in the current rankings of the polls on Gundam.info and Twitter, because they are completely different. On Gundam.info, the Master Grade is in the lead, with the Perfect Grade Unleashed in a nice second, and then the Real Grade and the Entry Grade are tied for third place. But on Twitter then, it is the Perfect Grade Unleashed that is in first place, followed by the Entry Grade of all things, which I would place last to be honest. The Real Grade is third, and the Master Grade is last. But the one thing that both polls have in common is that the results are still relatively close, and especially when we take them together, anything can still happen, I think. So if you want to cast your vote, I'll of course have the links down below. And also let me know in the comments what you think was the most shocking RX-78-2 model kit at the moment of its release, whether it was included in the poll or not, because I think there's quite a few people thinking about the very first high-grade RX-78-2 now, like the one with the Real Grade-esque inner frame, because frankly, that was also quite a shocking model kit at the time. But that has been all for this week's Gundam news. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next week with more Gundam news.